G'day guys, Kelvin from the Coaching Company in New Zealand. Well, from my garage. And I'm trying to do a lot of these videos with basic tools that anyone can use and show the techniques so you can fix your cars yourself in your garage very easily and keep the price down. I've just done a video on checking trans solenoids on this particular car. It's a 6-speed. Now the transmission in this particular car has been pushed past its limit and it is stuffed. And the reason the transmission is giving the most of its issues is because of this fella here. Transmission hard shift. This applies to the 6-speed models in particular. Now there's a few things that can cause this hard shift. One, poorly serviced transmission. So you still, even though they say it's a lifetime service, this still should be serviced. And then these fellas, the ECU. This is a combined ECU, ECT unit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a bag. I'm going to put some other stuff with it. And it's going to go on a long trip over to see Josh at Relentless Motorsports in Texas. He's going to fix it. And so he's going to show his side of this repair. So he'll open the bag up and he's going to explain a little bit more about what goes on and how he fixes these. Okay. Now, as I said, this car has got a stuffed transmission because someone drove it, the previous owner, for a long time with this particular ECU, this very ECU in this car with a hard shift. And he just kept driving it until it broke the transmission. It's also done 300,000 Ks, so hey, that's not a bad run, but I doubt the transmission's ever been serviced as well. And hey, I might be able to pull some more life out of the trans. Colin bought another car, wrecked a car, fitted ECU out of that car after I'd reflashed it, and it went way better. It did throw a code, and through proper diagnosis, I know why it's throwing that code as well. I've managed to catch up with Josh from Relentless Motorsport finally. I got him yesterday, and he definitely needed a bit of a tidy up, so he's been down and had a haircut, had a shave, a trim. And he did actually make a request to me yesterday that he wanted a New Zealand number plate. And I've actually managed to find one off a spare car that I had lying around. It's not off a Lexus, it's actually off a VW Beetle, but it's still a New Zealand number plate.
It's off a beat up Bug?
Yeah, beat up Bug. Blew the turbo.
Were you one you swapping it?
Nah, it blew the turbo when we took it to the wreckers, hence I've got the plate.
Cool. So I knew it was off something corny. It says front wheel drive on it.
Yeah, well it was off a front wheel drive beat up. Funnily enough. Anyway, we're going to talk about these things. And in fact, these two ECUs.
Hold up.
Hold up. Oh, you show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Yeah, here they are. This one's out of an LS430. I believe this one, customer said it was a 2005. I'm not sure. I'd have to run the part number on Toyota DIY, but my internet's being crappy today, so that ain't happening. But
yeah, well, my internet's all through my phone. So I've got my phone. I can't turn the interruptions off, so it can still beep at me. And if someone tries to phone me...
Let me give you the part number. Let me know. Can you see the part number?
50692. Yep.
Cool. Let me put this back to my customer. That's actually for a dealership in Houston, Texas. Excellent. Lexus, they can't get their hands on these right now, so I've been fixing all of them.
Well, I've got 89661 800.
I had quite a few laying around here. They're all kind of boxed up. Let me see. I think I got another one that's off of another Lexus that has the same issues. And I think it'd be interesting for the video since they're all similar, and I want to talk about it. I do. So let me get this guy's name off of here because it's not my place to show that. But this one here with the wing tabs on it, this is an IS250 ECU.
Yep.
The board, the case is very similar.
Yep.
So what I found out from these ECUs, maybe this will educate a little bit of people, it's a modular board. Like Toyota made a one-size-fits-all board, and then they go ahead and they added components or removed components according to vehicle and needs. And then they obviously just flash whatever tune they want onto it. And it's that vehicle. And then, of course, they're going to make a case according to vehicle, so it fits within, you know, the engine bay or the ECU compartment. But as you can see, the other one, they're very similar cases.
Yep.
They're both wedge cases.
Yep.
The Heights 250 just has a little bit of a recess,
which is the later one.
Recess area down there, and then it's got the wings. Other than that, it's the same thing. I've already sealed these up. Otherwise, I would open them and show inside. But they're already sealed up, ready to go. I don't want to put like 20 million security stickers on people's stuff.
Yeah, so we saw this wedge come out in 2000 with the LS430, big introduction of the LS430, which you American guys say 2001, but we actually saw them in the end of 2000.
Now, here's the thing. Let me talk about that. So people get confused all the time on things. They call me and they're like, how do I know if mine's a hard shift issue? One easy way I found to tell, besides vehicle year or whatnot, is the wedge ECUs, even though this is an IS250, they have two screws.
Yep.
Two screws. And if you look at your ECU, it's got 4 provisions for 4 screws because the earlier models have 4 screws in the case. Correct. Like this one here. This one's for Brandon at Quantum Auto, of all people. It says Brandon. But if you look, it's got 4 screws. It's still a wedge case. This right. Is the older style ECU that doesn't have the issues.
Yeah, so that's
4 screws.
That's the 5-speed. So I've got...
Yeah, it's a 5-speed, and that was a 6-speed.
I've got a 5-speed car. And yeah, both of these, as we've discussed in another video, they are the ones with the 2 screws, making it a 6-speed. And you can tell by your shifter as well. If people want to know how many it's got, you can tell by the shifter inside the car as well.
That is a good point. I never thought about that one.
Yeah. So this is Cullum's. Cullum's actually done a video with me. We've just serviced his ECU, and I did a video on testing transmission solenoids. It was driven with a hard shift issue and 300,000 Ks until the transmission has pretty much failed. And that's one of the side effects of people not fixing a hard shift issue is it's going to damage the transmission eventually.
Well, I see, you know, one thing too, not everybody is, sorry about that. Not everybody understands, you know, me growing up with my dad as an old school mechanic and, you know, looking at stuff, you know, I've learned to like look over everything before just jumping on something. But a lot of these newer age guys, they'll watch a YouTube video and they think because they watched on YouTube, nothing against you who does the YouTube thing or even me or others. There's lots of good people out there. But there's also a lot of people out there that just throw parts of stuff. And, you know, I've seen a lot of people listen to the wrong information and actually spend thousands of dollars changing a transmission. A lot of shady transmission shops that literally don't care, and they'll just gladly take your money. And then it starts slipping and smashing down the road. And they're like, oh, well, I don't know what's wrong with it. Yeah, it's because of the ECU. And then over time, because the ECU goes overlooked, like you said, it creates driveline issues. I've seen it damage, you know, gearboxes, rear diffs, damage U-joints. I mean, anything that's constantly shocking, twisting, contorting, and smashing is never good for a driveline.
That's right. That's dead right. So Cullum's one, he just bought another car, happened to be the same model. So we flicked the ECU out of that, and it's heaps better. But I have serviced the transmission in that one as well. So that one's coming over to you. It has, no one's been at this one. It's got Cullum on it.
It's coming over to me, you said?
This one's coming over to you. This one's coming to see you. It's actually going through over to Brandon first. I've got to send a package to Brandon. of other stuff, and he's going to check that
Good
one out.
old Brandon, Mr. Elsner.
So he's got a couple of things.
Everybody needs to know Brandon's the fucking man. Like Brandon's a good guy.
Well, of course, I flash ECUs, he flashes ECUs, but there's no point competing. We all kind of work together. And so the second one I've got for you, I've just started a video series on that, so hopefully that'll be out. It caught me out. It's actually 50800. 50800.
Actually, can you make a video? I wonder if you could make a video with something hanging from the rearview mirror, and as it downshifts, you can see it jerk like that, and then after it's fixed, you can make another video and see how smooth it is.
I don't know if I'm going to have time for that at the moment. Cullum's car's gone back to Cullum because I borrowed it for doing other testing. And this particular car is the one I discussed that you weren't meant to mention on what it's doing wrong. So this car, guys, I started a repair. The customer sent it to me because it had supposedly an injector not working. And it had sat for 10 years, the car. The person owned it for a short period of time, and then it sat for another year, I found out, because of this ECU fault. They sent me I said, just send me the ECU. The people who were diagnosing it didn't seem to know what they were doing. They didn't, because it wasn't a problem with the ECU. But there has been a repair in this. This is one with the repair with those couple of resistors on the side that look a little bit ugly. Looks like a 4-year-old.
I don't even know why they did. I don't even know why they did that. They have nothing to do with an injector.
I know, but they found they were burnt out apparently. So this one's coming to see you, so you can sort that as well and look at hardship.
I spotted that in one of your posts from like across the house. I looked at it. I had the phone open. I looked. Oh man, people need to stop letting Helen Keller work on their stuff.
Yeah, so I haven't actually driven with this ECU. When I went to diagnose the car, I plugged in a test ECU that I knew was good, and it didn't have an immobilizer, so I didn't have to wait that half an hour to code the immobilizer in. I'm going to get this one to you. You're going to check it, service it for that hardship. And because I ended up buying this car, I own it. It's parked in my shed, and I get to fix it. So it'll be a good video series giving the problems that it's got, and this will be a part of that series, of course. So it happens to be a Celsior, so I'm sending you an LS430 ECU and a Celsior ECU. So one of each.
Now, what's the difference? Let everybody know the difference, since you're more familiar with them, because you see Celsiors in your country of that year versus here. We have none, unless if they're here illegally, which I haven't seen any. What is the difference between that car and the US LS430?
Well, for a start, it's got battery monitor on the ECU, which caught me out, because when I plugged it in, suddenly I had this battery monitoring code. So that's on that ECU. It's only got a 180k speedo, which was quite interesting. I was looking, because you guys should get top end of the 200s for the speedo. And I'm
not sure what the kilometer reading is on our speedo here in the States, but our cars are not governed here in the States as far as I know. I've never topped out an LS430. I've only owned one years before I met you. Yep. And that was the only one I've ever had. That's the one I found out about the hard shift issue with.
Yeah, and then the display screen's in Japanese on my one, and it talks to me in Japanese. Really cool.
I know you like that.
Yeah. No, that's leaving. I can't handle that. It's actually got the proper nav system in it, but it's in Japanese. And we don't have the gear over here to swap it over, so I've got to work out a way to sort that problem. So those are the two ECUs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop in a box. They're going to come out. I'll put a box inside a box. It's going to come over to Brandon.
Inside a box?
Box inside a box. And your box will be inside that box, and then he can forward it over to you. And then you can pull them apart. And they're numbered up. You can check them, and you can tell me what you find, and you can show a little bit about the repair. And I'll put that number plate in that same box for you.
Cool. Well, the number plate's going to hang up on the wall in here.
Right. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you do to solve that hard shift problem?
What I do to fix the hard shift issue? Well, that's kind of complicated.
I've already talked about the fact that these ECUs don't physically have any visible faults when they fail. It's not like they just leak on the board like the early ones. So the early ones, you pull them apart, they're leakage. We know there's an issue.
I will say in due time, though, that they will wind up leaking just because they got electrolytic capacitors on them anyway. So, but that's probably not going to happen for another couple years. I could change them, but the ones that are on there, they're still fine. There's no point in changing. I got tons of life left in it, so you're just kind of wasting. As far as the hard shift, what do you want to know? How did I find the issue, or?
Well, you can go over that. Tell us a little bit about it. It's a componentry failure due to heat, isn't it? This is the problem that they have.
It seems like it has a lot to do with heat, and it has a lot to do with a glitch from the factory as well. The heat damages the components. It sits so tight in that engine bay, and it's just literally heat soaked. I advise people that are here in the States that I do them with, locals and stuff, to put like that gold heat barrier tape around the ECU box. That'll help keep a lot of the heat away and prolong the life of the unit. Because gold is good at dissipating heat. We can thank McLaren for that. They're the ones that figured that out on the old McLaren back in the day using the gold leafing. Little race car history there. So anyway, it started. There's a thing called Cars for Kids here in Dallas, Texas. It's an automotive auction, and all the proceeds go into helping like orphanages and schools and stuff like that. I got a sweet deal on an LS430. It was a 2006 LS430. I bought it, and it said it had transmission issues. I didn't know about the issues at the time. I was like, whatever, I'll get it, I'll figure it out. So driving all the way home, the transmission shifts up fine. It was just on downshifts. I'm like, this isn't it. This isn't a gearbox. There's something else. So I started digging over things and looking, and I didn't even look at the shift solenoids. I was looking at other modules. And then I realized, just like every other Toyota, that it's got a TCM, transmission control module, inside the ECU. So I started looking and spent several days staring at this ECU, looking, trying to figure out in my head, following traces from the actual header plug pins to try to find out everything in circuit. And I actually had no luck. And then over time, I started getting asked a lot about them from other people, made me look back at it. And I actually had a buddy of mine who's good with software and coding and stuff. We made a little tiny ghetto test rig. It wasn't even plugs. It was just pins we were sliding on to the thing. Actually, I have not one of them. This is similar. We're just sticking little pins like this onto the ECU off wires. And we actually had them into a chip reader. And we were trying to couldn't figure out, and then got further and further and further. And I started noticing that the one thing with these ECUs from using an open source tuner style thing that's actually acted as a scanner that he had. Well, you know who he is, Ryan, my buddy Ryan. And we started learning that these ECUs actually use a form of like an artificial intelligence to kind of adjust and learn and build accordingly. Well, there's a glitch in the software. And what happens is over time, it starts learning things and it starts doing things that it thinks it's doing correctly, and it's not. It's really complicated. I don't know how to break it down. I know I'm like babbling on and sounding crazy. There's so many factors. And then there's also other issues in the ECU with components failing on the board, and that's a heat related issue. There's a couple voltage regulators that go bad in it, and then there's a couple other little tiny small drivers and diodes that I find get damaged from excessive heat and just heat soak.
Right. Excellent.
So I don't know. It's really weird. I've never really been asked what goes into it. And I mean, as much as I want to disclose a lot of it, then again, on the other hand, this is something I've created, and it's not that I don't want people like customers figuring and learning. I don't want these other ECU shops jumping on my gig. So there's a lot of things, a lot more that goes in it that, I mean, it's just kind of proprietary. It's things, you know, I don't want to really put out there. I hate gatekeeping, but I mean, this is how we make our living.
I do the same thing with my wiring instructions, and of course people buy that and I help them out, but they're also buying my time and my experience, and we understand that. We're buying your time and your experience and your knowledge. Well, anyway, I'm going to get those in a box and boxed up for you.
These ECUs took me about 1.5 years to figure out. I actually figured the issue out after I sold the LS430 to my old neighbor.
Oh, yes?
And he kept asking me to look at it. Yeah. My old neighbor, Tony, bought the LS430 off of me.
Yep. So I'll get those boxed up. I'll send them over to Brandon. And then he'll forward it on to you to get sorted.
What does Brandon got to do on it, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, well, there's one of them that's we don't have access to the software program on it. Just a pain. So he's got to
and he has it?
He's got the gear to read it. And at the moment, thanks to the world situation, there's out of stock for those little readers that we use. So he's going to do that. Plus, I've got another couple of jobs for him to do as we interchange bits and pieces and we send stuff back and forth between each other. So just sharing our knowledge and our skills bases and our parts bases, that I've got sometimes got stuff that he needs and he's got stuff that I need. And of course, with freight through some suppliers, it's easier for me to send to you or to Brandon rather than send direct from some suppliers that don't send to the USA.
Well, here's another thing that I'd like to
my
add.
plugs there as well that you can send back that I got sent.
There's a what?
There might be a box of plugs there that I sent to you at some point. You can send them to me too. Yeah.
I could send them back, and I promise I haven't built no wiring harnesses with them.
There you go. So anyway, I'm going to wrap that up. I got to get things doing. My phone's been going crazy. People have been chasing me, and I'll get that stuff over to you.
Sounds good.
You do a video at your end showing these ECUs, and then I'll do a video when they get back.
I could do that.
Very good. Talk to you later.
Later.